with Snakebyte, the case design artist. Well, say that he's designed a flute case, I believe, this year, have you?
Yeah, it was probably one of the weirder things I've done so far.
What other weird stuff have you done then?
I actually can't remember. I know I've done weird stuff. Does that sound weird?
It's sort of like a drunken memory, I should imagine then.
Oh wait, no. I think I can't tell you the weirdest. The weirdest in terms of for me was someone won a case in the raffle. They literally went to me, okay, do you want to draw on it? And it's like, okay. And they were taking it out of the box. They had not opened it, not taking anything. And I'm like, why are you giving me a brand new case? So, but that and drawing on a £2,000 Alienware was quite scary.
Wow, what design did you do on the brand new case?
On the brand new case, it was, do you know Vic X, the staff member?
Slightly, yeah.
I did a zombie for her, just a portrait.
Oh wow, sweet. Have you got any design ideas in mind for future projects?
Not really. I mean, the thing is, I take it as it comes. So if someone asks me to do something, I'll have a crack at it. I can do most things. The only problem I have is realistic stuff, because you can't really do it with a marker.
Well, I have to say, I've seen your sort of TF2-esque sort of style designs, and they are incredible. So definitely credit to you there. What got you started in terms of art and drawing?
In terms of art and drawing, it was a girl, as many things are for guys.
Oh, that's many men, yeah.
But long after the girl was gone, the art stayed. So, as for at the I-Series, were you at I-36?
I personally wasn't, no. My first one was I-37.
Did you hear about the blackout that happened at I-36, though?
Oh, was that the massive power cut?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Basically, as chance happened, at that event, it was my first, and I decided to bring some art supplies with me. When the power went out, I thought, fuck it, I'll draw on the side of my case. My mate saw it and was like, you should put it on the forum, get some money for it or something. And I was like, I'm not going to ask for money, but I'll do it. And then I've kind of kept doing it because it's really fun.
Oh, brilliant. So is it just like the love of art and the love of the designs that keep you going?
For me, it's like, I'm really a graphic designer. That's what my course is. That's what I'm doing at university in September, all this kind of stuff. So I don't do a lot of drawing like I do at the I-Series. This is a good chance for me to chill out and do some drawing, and it's like hitting the big reset button. When it comes to
just being yourself and coming out. Where do you get the ideas for the designs from? Is it normally they give it to you, or do you have a bit of creative imagination involved?
Depends. Some people are like, okay, I want you to draw exactly this picture, and that can be a bit boring sometimes. Some people are like, okay, this is a picture, and I'll say, oh, can I change the angle or whatever? Some people are like, oh, okay, I want a character. It's like, okay, I've got to find a pose, and that usually involves going through the internet, finding a good pose, drawing through that. I used to just try and do poses off the top of my head. That works, but you end up with really kind of bog standard poses, and it's not very interesting.
Where do you get your inspiration from?
Video games.
Is that it, or is there any sort of real movies or anything?
Comic books as well. I mean, I play a lot more video games than I read comics, but in terms of my style, it's more influenced by comics.
Oh, brilliant. So have you got any sort of, you mentioned style, do you have any specific art style that you try to stick to, or do you just take free reins?
I just go for it. I mean, I used to, when I first started, it was all very anime, manga stuff. I've really fallen out with that over the years, just because it's very simple and it seems like everyone does it these days.
Yeah, anime manga seems to be quite sort of cliche. What's the most outrageous design that you've ever done on, not necessarily a case, but any, like I saw your sketchbook things on the multiplayer forums, and there were some real creative pieces in there. What's your sort of favourite thing you've ever done?
My favourite thing I've ever done? My favourite thing I've ever done was actually a graphic design piece, and it was what got me into doing graphic design. That only happened a few months ago, actually. Because up until that point, I always assumed graphic design was really boring and it wouldn't be very interesting. Until I started to try and do a whole poster with really simple shapes and colours, and it all came together really beautifully, and I just sort of clicked.
Yeah. What, have you ever been doing a design and thought, I really hate this, I just want to get out of it and just go?
Yes, it does happen. Sometimes it turns into, it'll fall into one of two categories. It'll either be the person, I'll kind of think, I kind of don't want to be here, can we just move this along? Or sometimes it'll be a really, really generic design, and I'm just sat there like, this really isn't interesting.
Do you ever sort of seem to get a pattern in terms of what people ask you to design on their cases, or does it tend to be quite random as to what they ask for?
At past events, it's been very random because I've never said, okay, this is what I can and can't do, because I never really knew what I could and couldn't do on cases. This is the first LAN where I've said, okay, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm not. I find at this LAN, while I've had a lot more requests, there are also a lot a lot of TF2, a lot of WoW characters, a lot of LOL and HON characters. That kind of thing's very popular, it seems, at the moment.
Brilliant. What sort of materials do you use to... I saw you've started doing some windows as well for the cases. What do you use to get it to stay on and keep very crisp over the time?
For the cases, it's markers. I used to just use pencil, and that limited me to black cases, and even then it didn't look very good. Then at I39, I started using markers. The black ones were the big one though, because it means what I can do is I can draw it on paper first, put it behind some perspex, and I can get a lot finer line than the silver Sharpies, which are very bog standard and one kind of thickness.
Do you have a preferred media to work with, or do you just take it as it comes?
Do you mean in terms of cases, or do you just mean generally?
Just generally, like in terms of, do you like drawing on cases or canvas, or do you prefer using certain pens, certain crayons and stuff?
I definitely enjoy using mechanical pencils. I like, it sounds really weird, but Woolworth's paper, they do a big pad of paper, it's about 50 pages thick, and it's some of the smoothest, cheapest paper I've found, which is quite nice. There's something called layout paper, which is very, very thin paper, and it's very good for what I do, which is work with a light box, because it means that the second you stick a light behind it, it goes literally transparent, so you can iterate on a design and make it more interesting.
Have you ever experimented with other areas of design, like Photoshop work, going into 3D modelling and stuff like that?
On the Art Foundation, you do every kind of art sort of thing at the beginning of the term. So photography, graphic design, illustration, fine art, everything. So I've kind of tried a little bit of everything. Graphic design is where I ended up. Before that, in fact, during my GCSEs and A-levels, I was a fine artist, so mostly painting and stuff like that.
You say during GCSEs and A-levels, when did you really start getting into the design sort of feel and wanting to do everything?
Design, I guess it sort of started picking up about halfway through my A-levels. When I was already in a fine art course and couldn't really change it. But I kind of went, okay, people are asking me to do CD cases and all this sort of stuff, and I'm doing some comic strip stuff. I kind of like the design more than the actual drawing.
Oh, what was the first request you ever received, if you can remember?
What, at the iSeries?
In general, you mentioned CD cases and the such.
Oh, the first request I had like a CD case was for a man called Jake McAllister. You can find him on MySpace. Very good fucking musician. And it was to do a CD cover of him. I won't lie, it was very, very bad. It was my first time really using Photoshop. I was using it on some old Dell machine. It was horrendous. But it worked, and he liked it, so...
Oh, a nightmare scenario then, to sort of pull a design out that the client really likes is a tough feat to do. What's been your worst design that you've ever felt that you really dislike?
Worst design I ever felt a dislike? There's been a few things at LAN where I've kind of, like, people have been like, oh, that's amazing, I love it, and I've kind of gone, okay. But worst one, it was actually probably my final major piece for my A-level, because I tried to do a comic book, not realising how long it would take and how much effort you have to put in, and I ended up with kind of 14 bodged together pages that really weren't worth it.
Yeah. Where you do designs on the iSeries on cases, do you have any design on your case, or do you just leave it completely standard?
My case used to be completely standard. Before I39, you needed to test that markers worked. So I just did a quick claptrap on the side of it on the perspex.
Claptrap, awesome.
And before this one, I thought, well, it's a bit weird for me to be drawing on everyone else's case and not drawing something on mine. So I did a quick Vault Boy on the front of it, but nothing else.
So if you could have any design, and if you had a preferred case to work with and any design to go with, do you have an ideal combination, or would it just be anything that you can?
Definitely enjoy working on perspex. It means I can give a really clean finish to it, and I can use the paper drawing beforehand. And my preferred style is probably the WoW stuff. The TF2 stuff's fun and simple, but the WoW stuff, it's really detailed, but it's really stylistic at the same time, which makes it good fun.
WoW stuff tends to be really flowy and can sort of go with the flow of the case. Do you have a dream case that you love to work with and one that you really hate to work with?
The ones I really hate to work with are the ones with a glossy finish on them, because you can't put pencil on there first to plan it out. This makes it a nightmare, because then I've got to go straight into markers, and if I fuck it up, there's no way getting the marker off.
So basically anything Leanne Lee?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's a shame, because those could really suit your artistic design. The subtle design of those could be really brought to flare with yours. What's your favourite case to work with?
Anything with perspex. As long as it's a big perspex side, I really don't mind what case it is.
Has anyone ever come to you saying, I'm doing a build completely from scratch, I want it to be based around your designs, what can you help me with?
I haven't had anything like that. I have had dentists at this LAN approach me and go, I'm rebuilding at some point, I'm getting a new case this weekend, can you do something on it? So I think I'm doing something for him tomorrow, so.
Would you like to be involved in designing a case based around art design that could be sort of modded by the end user as it was?
I don't know. I did product design at A-level, but I'm kind of terrible at actually making things. I can design them fine, but have no idea how to actually make them.
Do you prefer a sort of like a canvas where you can do anything at all, or do you prefer having some limits that you have to stick to and seeing how far you can push those?
Much prefer having limits and seeing how far I can push them. That's why I got into graphic design. I've had some graphic design students go to me, oh, graphic design is really boring, there's so many limits. But that's why I find it interesting. You get given these limits and it's like, how far can I push it before someone goes, whoa, where are you going with this?
Have you ever given someone a design and they've really disliked it?
It does happen. Not often, I will admit, and people are generally quite gentle about it. I did a poster for Shaz recently for a LAN party he was doing, and when I first did it, it was I did a lot of neon effects and stuff. I was just experimenting with Photoshop. Didn't really come out that well, but I was like, okay, I'll just go with it and see whether he likes it. Didn't like it at all. Redid it later on, just did a TF2 drawing for him, gave it a really 50s comic book style to suit the style, and loved it. So.
You mentioned you like the WoW styling on cases. Do you play WoW yourself, or do you just like the art style?
EVE Online here, so not exactly WoW.
Already taken up by one subscription based. Do you have any games that you love purely for the art style of the game, like Borderlands is very comic and WoW's just purely based around colour, etc.?
I would say if there was a game which I love just for the style, it would be a toss-up between TF2, because I don't actually play that much of it, or maybe Mirror's Edge just because of the amount of cleanliness it had.
What do you think of environments in games that are extremely clean, like Portal and Mirror's Edge, compared to ones that are extremely cluttered, like, say, GTA 4?
It depends how it's done. So take cluttered, for example. You've got something like Dead Space, horribly cluttered, but looks brilliant because it worked. Something like GTA 4, it worked because it was trying to be realistic, but you do get designs where it's just way too cluttered, obviously.
Fair enough. You mentioned you play EVE. Is that your favourite game at the moment, or something else?
At the moment, I don't really have a favourite game, I'll be fair to say. I do play a lot of Dirt 2 at the moment, but EVE, I haven't really played it consistently for over a year. I just kind of occasionally renew my subscription and go, okay, I'll play this for a bit.
Have you ever played any game that sort of made you go, wow, I want to make a design based around that?
Oh, yes. Probably, I think the last one was actually probably Dead Space, just because I loved how, I mean, I can't get through it, it scares me to death, but I loved that there was no UI. It was all done in the game, it was a very different approach to it, and that's what I want to get into now, is user interface design.
What do you think of games that overdo the user interface design and sort of try to give you absolutely everything and then try and cram it in, like a bit like Crysis?
Oh, that's not the pet peeve for me, because at the very least they're trying to give you as much information as possible. My pet peeve is when they have a good idea and then they bottle out on it. I can't remember what it was, but I remember a game recently where there was like a little holographic display that came off the gun and it gave you how much ammo was left in it. But instead of just making that a little bit bigger and making it like an in-game user interface, they just stuck something in the corner with the ammo count on it, and that really disappointed me.
So a little bit like how Halo displays ammo?
Yes, pretty much.
Fair enough. Thank you very much for the interview. Been a pleasure. I love your work. I'll see you around.